places. And I'm Bob Bachman.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want me to use this?
Yes, I want you to use it. Yeah.
Test. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Louder? Okay. I thought with the microphone. I don't want to intrude on the neighbors here, so try and keep it somewhere in the middle. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate you coming every year. This is great. Any opportunity we have to kind of talk about what's going on in the city, what your police department's doing, things that we're seeing, kind of a snapshot of the year, 2025, and then obviously we'll kind of lead into this with probably an overview of Picnic Day, which is a different conversation this year than last year, which is a good thing. So Picnic Day, if you've been following kind of the shift that the city made and the university over the course of the last year, a lot of things really changed. So over the last few years, what we really kind of seen is, and this is previous to me being here, most of the issues that Picnic Day historically had were in the downtown area around bars, issues with excessive drinking, fights at bars, etc., etc. So one of the things that the city did to kind of preempt that was we go out and we make contact with every bar downtown, and we partner with Alcohol Beverage Control, ABC, and we make sure that we have conversations with bar owners around not over-serving, making sure that they're being compliant with ID checks, that they're not doing any early drink specials, to try and mitigate some of those impacts. And that's been very effective. The unintended consequence of that was seeing a lot of pop-up events in open spaces. So that's unsanctioned, unpermitted events, whether that's concerts or anything similar to that in parks. We saw them in schools, and it was kind of difficult to figure out where they were going to be, because with the use of social media, it's real easy to kind of market a event, and they wait till the day of before they release the location, and that was problematic because these events would get really big really fast. And when they did, it took a lot of resources to displace them or disperse them. And so that was really one of the big focal points, because that's what happened at Community Park last year, was that exact same thing. Part of the contributing issue to that too is, as you know, there's a parade at the beginning of Picnic Day. And the parade takes about 50 personnel to staff it. We have to do hard road closures, we have to have people staffed at those locations, we have to tow all the vehicles that did not abide by the no parking rule 24 hours in advance in preparation for it, and then we have law enforcement and coordination and all the things. So one of the issues that we have, because Picnic Day activities really start pretty early in the day. These kids get real excited and they get after it early, up until 6 o'clock in the morning they'll get going. So when we're staffing that parade, we have very limited resources in the city to be able to address those issues. And Picnic Day for the police department is 100% staffing. So from myself down to the newest records officer, they're all working, and we have always reached out to our mutual aid partners in Yolo County, City of Woodland, City of West Sacramento, Yolo County Sheriff's Department, CHP Yolo office, and they've always helped us out with mutual aid. This year, recognizing that we were really needed to get ahead and be proactive in preventing some of these events from occurring, we took a multi-prong approach. So really, starting almost the week after Picnic Day, we collaborated with the university, because our first strategy was education and awareness to university students, especially Greek organizations, which hold a lot of these parties. And as you know, it's a transitory community, the UC Davis. Kids come in, kids leave. So anything you did 4 years ago is a wash. You got to start all over again. So we really spent a lot of time joint communication with the university. And that wasn't just the university talking to students and Greek organizations about expectations, how to stay safe, what to be aware of, what the enforcement posture of the city was. That was the police department also being part of those conversations. So we are collectively really communicating that the entire year leading into picnic day. And the goal was to make sure people knew, hey, these are the expectations. This is possibly what will happen, whether it's a citation or arrest or whatever for violations of the law. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't a surprise to anybody, that anybody that was going to engage in any type of conduct that was illegal or unpermitted, that they knew enforcement was going to occur. And so that was really the preface to kind of what we did. The other piece is we reached outside of our county for mutual aid. And this is a huge ask because we're asking other jurisdictions to send us bodies that they're paying for. And obviously the mutual aid system in the state of California through the Blue Book system is designed to support mostly for emergency incidents. So if somebody has a wildland fire, an earthquake, whatever the case is, and they need resources, that's how the state works, is we help each other out. And so we reached outside the county to Placer County, Sacramento County, El Dorado County. We kind of reached out to everybody and we said, hey, we need assistance. And bless their hearts, they absolutely stepped up and sent people to us. So we doubled the number of officers that were in town for the city. Well over 100 officers worked picnic day, and only about 48 of those were Davis police officers. Everything else was from outside the county. We also took a stronger approach. We changed the ordinance. So as you may or may not know, we have safety enhancement zones which get enacted during the picnic day weekend. That doubles the fines for certain offenses if you are caught doing them in that space. The other piece of that is there's some exemptions to parks within the city where you can actually drink. You can have open containers of alcohol. So we amended the city ordinance that council through resolution can essentially ban alcohol in all parks, open spaces on picnic day. And so those two things occurred. And then really what we did was when we structured it out so that we had specified units that were going out and checking these park spaces. We were following social media threads to see who was promoting events, where they were going to promote those events, how many people were in attendance. And a lot of that, we reached out to people who were promoting illegal, unpermitted events, and we were able to locate the organizers and have conversation with them and say, hey, if you show up and you do this event in a park, here's what's going to occur. So we were very proactive, and the patrol units were very proactive in getting to these parks because our whole goal was not to have any illegal events pop up in these open spaces. Because once it starts, it can grow pretty rapidly. And when you have 1,000 people in a park or a school, it can take hours and dozens of officers to disperse that group. And that's what we were trying to avoid, and we did accomplish that. So we had no major events, any parks, any open spaces, which was great. And obviously, if you've read the newspaper, we're getting blamed for some stuff in Sacramento. I don't know the connection that they've made on that, but they posted that they thought it was related to picnic day. But for the city, the strategy worked and it was effective. And even talking to the officers for some of the Greek organizations, the messaging worked because, we talked about what that was going to look like in officer response. And when we would start to get noise complaints about a house party, the officers would show up and they would have a monitor out front, and the monitor would see the police officers walking up and they would ask them, are we done? And the officers would say, yes, we're getting noise complaints. You guys are going to have to shut it down. And they would say, no problem. And they rounded everybody up and dispersed them, which was great. And so I think, on all fronts, obviously it took a collective effort between the university and the city. But we did a lot of messaging. I did a lot of interviews on this, and the goal was to make sure everybody knew what was coming and what it was going to look like and what our expectation for safety was, and we got pretty good compliance of it. So I asked our records department to give me some numbers. So we had 333 calls. It's almost like a perfect number, triple threes. 333 calls for service on picnic day, which is a lot. We had 63 parties that we responded to. We had 18 minor and possession citations, 3 noise citations, and we had 57 vehicle citations and only 4 arrests. Yep.
Is that low compared to years past?
It has been, and obviously, we don't want to resort to arrest. That's not the ideal way to resolve it. But again, that we were able to do it without a high number of arrests is a good thing, because this is usually a lot of kids, and it's not helpful for them to enter the criminal justice system, and they were very compliant, and that was extremely helpful. So we were able to keep the event safe and prevent any of these kind of large gatherings, especially the ones in the public space.
What was the arrest for?
Mostly just public intoxication. Yep, as you can imagine.
Were any of these organizations associated with commercial operations?
Yeah, we have. We have definitely seen that in the past, where there's different entities that will promote an event in a park or a school because they know, as you're aware, 70,000 people come to picnic day, doubles our population. And so they know all those people are coming to town. There's a good number of those people who are not coming to enjoy what's happening on campus. They're coming to engage in parties. And so they try and maximize on that by selling tickets to unsanctioned events. But we were able, through social media, able to identify those and to be able to reach out to those individuals in advance and let them know, hey, we're aware, we're going to follow up on this if you show up and you are in an area that is not permitted, because there was a moratorium on any special permits in the city for the day. And they complied, which was really good. So overall, pretty successful. We did, I don't know if you followed, the next morning, we did have a stabbing downtown. Not really a picnic day per se related event, but we were able to make an arrest yesterday of that suspect. So that case is now still under investigation, but we do have a suspect in custody. I've mentioned that we had 100+ officers in the city. This was the first year, too, that the university and the city did a collective, what we call an incident action plan, right? That's where you basically are building a plan. What's everybody going to do? What are roles and responsibilities? That has traditionally been sort of 2 siloed events. You have what's occurring on the university, and then you have what's occurring in the city. And we really felt that this year it was important for us to be one voice, one body, because they are very closely connected. And so we built a single action plan for the entire event between all organizations, that's fire, police, and the university. Parade went well. We shortened it by 1 block to help with some of the traffic congestion issues, and also reduce the footprint for staffing-wise, because the university took over staffing of the parade so that we were able to have our officers in the field addressing calls for service, which was really good collaboration and partnership with the university, and it worked as planned, which was really good. I was going to present some information. We're preparing our annual report for 2025 as we kind of finalize out 2025 stats. But before I jump into that, I wanted to see if there's questions about picnic day or anything I can answer specific. Rick, go ahead.
I can start to
I
talk
want to ask you about the UCD police. Were they involved at the university only? Were they part of your team, collaboration team?
Yeah, no, they were very much part of the overall collaboration, and they staffed the parade. So that parade is in the city. Well, it's a little bit of both, right? But it does go into the city. And traditionally, we've had to staff that through city personnel. This year, it was staffed through UC Davis, volunteers, non-sworn personnel, and then UC Davis Police Department personnel. They also put out a mutual aid request, through the UC system, which is how they kind of work to supplement themselves. And so they probably had close to 60 officers working that day. Obviously, their primary responsibility after the parade ends is to be on campus and deal with campus safety. But we have an amazing working relationship with UC Davis Police Department. Obviously, we work so closely together, and that's pretty much year long. Jordan?
Yeah, so I've lived in Davis since 1969, and I guess all those years we've had the two events in the spring, which was first Rollers Day, I guess, and then Picnic Day as well. And it just ends up being quite a bit of activity, and then it turned out the one that was dangerous in my recent memory was the Picnic Day last year with the shooting. And so now we have the stabbing, and I don't know if it was related to anybody coming in, to the Picnic Day thing. But I just was wondering, should we decide, Davis decide, if we only have one, roller for Picnic Day, or should we have both? But it's a lot of great resources, or now that we've been having the nature of Picnic Day, and I'm glad it's less this year, but still we did have the stabbing, whether it was related or not, it still is a shock. So I was just wondering, would we be talking of going forward, should we have both festivals that are pretty much within a month of each other and require so much resources? Should we still have both? How would we keep certainly the Picnic Day I'm glad it was improved, but then we did have the stabbing, and that's a bad one, whether it's related or not.
Yeah, and so the stabbing, the suspect's a Davis resident. So probably not related to Picnic Day, and obviously we have stabbings. That's not a regular occurrence, but it does occur in the city, and obviously we never want any. As far as whether the university is going to have the event continuing on, I mean, this is a 112-year anniversary, as you're aware. I don't know. That's up to the university. There's the university's event, and we get kind of the overflow impact of the event. And yes, a lot of people come into the city to go to the university to enjoy it. I mean, I've taken my kids there many times. It's a great experience, great view of the campus. The portions of people coming into the city that are not going to campus are coming for alcohol-driven events and parties, and there's a lot of them. We had 63 at least documented parties this year. So if that's going to change, I don't know. I don't have any control over that piece. That's really up to the university. But I haven't heard any conversation about it ending. So.
Well, I just want to applaud the department and all who was involved to campus to make this safe.
Yep, it was more of a comment and just an appreciation for the event and the work that went into it. And it's complex. 70,000 people is a huge influx for us. And when you have that many people and sort of the dynamic of what's happening in the city that day, people are coming a lot of times, not all, but a lot of those people are coming because they want to drink, they want to party. So the dynamic is a different shift. And if you drive around downtown Davis, if you drive around the outskirts of Davis, there's a lot of people out and there's a lot of drinking. And so that is definitely a contributing factor that makes this event difficult, because it's also not 70,000 people coming to a concert. They're just coming into the city, and those events are throughout the city. So it is a complex incident to manage, no question about it. This year, having so many extra officers available to us really just gave us the resources to be able to address those issues a lot sooner. And really the commander's intent of the day was, don't let small problems become big problems. And that was the goal. We want people to have fun, we want people to be safe, but people need to follow the law.
You said 70,000 people came into town. Is that aside from the 60,000 people in Davis and the 40,000 kids and another 40,000 people working there? Is that all together? Is there all that?
No. We have around 65,000 residents in the city of Davis. There's 40,000-ish that attend the university, but the people coming in, that's 70,000 people on top of that. So that really just kind of doubles our population.
The the people that work on the campus?
How do we count them?
Yeah, I mean, how many people are on the campus other than the students?
Oh, I don't know what numbers. I mean, obviously, some of that 70,000 is going on campus. Some are just staying in the city. And, there's no way to really probably accurately track that.
200,000 people for this weekend or whatever.
Yeah, probably pretty close. Probably pretty close. But yeah, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people for a small town.
Was there an increase in the car crashes? All the cars downtown, people walking? Was there any?
No, we had no reported collisions. We had no reported pedestrians struck by a vehicle. We did a lot of vehicle stops. We had not only our traffic unit, but we had Elk Grove Police Department's traffic unit, West Sacs traffic unit. We did make some DUI arrests, but there was, very visible presence. I mean, I drove around the majority of the day just to get a feel of the city, and you couldn't really go anywhere without seeing a cop, which was a good thing, deterrent. So,
Which was preventative and that was...
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, regarding the vehicle incidents, we had that death right on Clovell like 3 weeks ago between two bicycles. Then we had the death now in West Village like a few days ago. And it's just, how are we going to work about the bicycles seem to be more in danger, or the motorized bicycles, or I don't know. Somehow we've been having fatal bicycle accidents within the last month.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think that's top of mind for a lot of people in the city is bicycle safety. We tout ourselves as a bicycle capital, and anytime you have bicycles and cars operating on the roadway together, it can be dangerous. Obviously, the one by West Village is, in the jurisdiction of UC Davis, and they're investigating that. We're completing our investigation for the one that occurred on a bike path. I can say that e-bikes are front and center in a lot of conversations, not just within the city of Davis, but really throughout the state. And I sit on the Cal Chiefs board, and I'm part of a working group that's working with, some assembly groups to try and identify legislation to address the e-bike issue, because I do feel there's a real benefit to having e-bikes. Micro mobility is a great alternative, and they really allow a lot of different people to be much more mobile. The questions I think that are coming up from different jurisdictions, because no matter what city I talk to in the state, they're all getting a lot of pressure around e-bikes. And there's some issues around it where the laws are very convoluted. They're very complex because each device has its own rules. There's no standardization of it. You have a Type 1 e-bike, which is pedal assist. You have a Type 2, which could be pedal assist, but it has a throttle. And then you have a Type 3. They all have different requirements as to where they can ride, where they can't ride, who can ride them, and who can't ride them. There's no training that is required by the state to be able to operate an e-bike. Type 1 and Type 2 are supposedly supposed to have a regulator on it which prohibits it from going over 20 miles an hour. But anybody in here can Google search and you'll find a video that will help you manipulate that bike to make it go in excess of that. Add that to there's no restrictions currently on manufacturers to put warnings on those bikes as to how fast it goes, who can drive it, what are the restrictions on it. And then on top of that, we have what are called e-motors. And these are essentially unregistered electric motorcycles. They're not even in those three legalized categories of e-bike. These things can do up to 60 miles an hour. And there's no restriction on those getting pumped into the state. And parents probably unknowingly purchasing these, not understanding the impact. And the dynamic is different too, because if I'm a fast bicyclist as a kid, if I can hit 15 miles an hour, that's pretty good, but I can't sustain it. And when you have an e-bike that is traveling, let's say it's even legally traveling at 20 miles an hour, and I'm 12 years old, I mean, I would have loved to have had one when I was 12 years old, but I probably had no business being on it. And my concern is that we're providing these devices to our kids, and unknowingly, right, not understanding some of the safety concerns associated with those devices. And when you're moving that fast, cars aren't used to bicycles moving that fast, or kids who had no formalized training, right? A bicycle has to follow every single rule of the road just as a car. Stop at a stop sign, make turn signals, all the same rules apply. There's no variance of that. And so we're asking kids to comply with that when they have had no training, right? If I want to get a driver's license, I need to get a learner's permit. I have to go through driver's ed. I have to go through structured training. I have to pass a test to make sure that I understand those rules. We don't have any of that for e-bikes. And so I think these are the concerns. From my perspective, the biggest concern is hopefully finding some legislation that will pass. And there's about 6-7 bills right now competing through the Capitol to try and address some of these issues. But my biggest concern is with the manufacturers and putting better restrictions on them so that these aren't getting pumped in. Because right now the pushback is, well, police should do more enforcement. Yeah, that's part of it, but we need to really go back to, well, how are we having so many of these devices in the state in the first place? So it's another issue. The other problem, too, that most jurisdictions are running into is these kids are taking off from the cops. And there's been a couple incidents where officers have chased these kids, arrested them, impounded their bike, and I am completely opposed to that. As much as I want to make sure that we're doing enforcement, what I don't want to see is our cops chasing a 13-year-old kid at potentially high speeds for a misdemeanor violation. But it does create another dynamic, and there's actually a bill requiring licensing so that at least the officers can get a license plate if they did take off from them. So,
are there any other places in the world where this is happening and they've put other things together where they said, you know, you have a bike, and if you have these other things, you have to get more information and pay attention and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure, and it's a great question. And Europe has different restrictions on e-bikes, so our e-bikes come at 750 watts. Theirs are closer to 500. They put other restrictions on them. San Jose State put out a white paper, a research paper on this very topic. There's a lot of actual medical association, California Medical Association, who's now pushing out data. And adults are still the highest number of people injured on an e-bike, but juveniles are coming up pretty quickly. But the difference is the severity of injury. The severity of injuries of kids who are crashing their e-bikes and getting really hurt is really starting to increase. And so the state has definitely taken notice, and they're trying to recognize we need to make some shifts, but it's an emerging technology, and it's relatively new. And so, obviously, as you know, it takes the laws a lot longer to catch up to technology. Beth, did you have a question?
Is it okay? So I'm here because this is a progressive group, and I'm a conservative speaker who has been kind of targeted in this town. Yesterday there was a bomb threat at the Davis High School. There was a bomb threat. If you go onto the Reddit channel, UC Davis, it's accusing me of the bomb threat yesterday at the high school. And this article came out 2 years ago from the Southern Poverty Law Center, who just yesterday was found to be giving $3 million to extremists, white supremacists. I'm afraid that they were false flags 2 years ago when there was a series of 6 bomb threats in Davis. And your predecessor, Darren Keitel, said I was responsible for those bombs by my actions. And I have it, it was at the school board meeting. But if you could just speak to yesterday's bomb threat, how are you going to let the public know who was likely behind that bomb threat, and not have messaging coming out of our city leaders that's saying that it's conservative people who are a danger to this town? Thank you.
Yeah, so the bomb threat yesterday was actually, it wasn't per se a threat as much as it was a suspicious device. So an administrator found a small bag which said, essentially, this is an explosive device. And they did the right thing. They did an evacuation. They called us out. Our explosive ordnance detail was able to x-ray the bag pretty quick and determine it's not an explosive device. The investigation is ongoing. I suspect and again, this is just based on the information I have, and it could change at any moment. I suspect it was a student, most likely, potentially, maybe it was a joke or whatever it could have been. But that's really all the information that we have on that at this point. Obviously, we will continue to work with the school district on that. But as you saw in our post, we're not making any assumptions as to what it is until we're able to work through the investigation. This is a little easier for us to work than a bomb threat, because most bomb threats come in through a VPN. They get traced back to Nigeria or whatever the case is, and it becomes kind of a dead end. This is a little bit different because it was an actual physical device, and so I think we'll probably get to a point where we're able to identify what the actual circumstances were behind it. No, they can't go on the sidewalk. We do have an ordinance in the downtown core that you can't ride on a sidewalk. But outside of it, yes, kids can ride a bike. Because right now, the e-bikes 1, 2, and 3, they're all considered a bicycle. There's not like technically a separate classification. Now, a Type 3 e-bike, which is the fastest, that's up to 28 miles an hour, and you have to be 16 or older to drive that. Those are not allowed on our Class 1 multi-purpose bike trails. But a 1 and a 2 are allowed. Go ahead.
There's also those like motorized skateboards, and then the motorized skateboards with vertical handlebars. And it just seems like there's all kinds of vehicles now on the, there's just all kinds of vehicles now. And with those motorized skateboards with the vertical handle, I just imagine that if somebody gets hit, they'll go up like a toothpick and come right down on their head. So it's just so dangerous with the variety of vehicles in the bike lanes, and I don't know. I mean, what can we do about that? Do all of those, anything in the bike lane other than pedestrians, have to get a license with the city?
No, not with the city. So much like vehicles, there's preemption issues. We can't make a law that preempts state law. So we couldn't make a law saying we don't want cars in the city because they're on roadways and the state already allows it. So that's one of the big pushbacks from jurisdiction, is they would really like to have more local control around some of the e-bikes and where they can and can't ride. The stand-up scooters, you have to be 16 years old to drive that. Again, the rules for that are slightly different. It can't be on a road that has a speed limit over 25 miles an hour. And it's, they're so distinctively different. Our officers right now have a 2-page cheat sheet to go, what type of bike is it? What's the classification? A lot of times the bikes aren't clearly identified what they are. So these are all things that we are trying to petition to the California legislature to try and find some solutions to that, and to maybe be able to have a little more local control around certain bikes. There's 2 pilots. There's one in Marin County and one in San Diego County. These are 2 pilots that were authorized by the state to basically give local control to be able to regulate them. And Marin put a 15-year or older ban on Type 2 bikes. That's kind of what I'm hoping to see statewide, because I believe this is a statewide concern. And because it's such a different dynamic than a traditional bicycle, my hope is that we'll be able to develop some laws that are common sense, still allow us to use the devices, but also to put regulation on the manufacturers.
What are the regulations for lights on bikes?
Got to have 100 feet, front and rear. It's light front and rear, visible by 100 feet. Yeah. We got a grant through Office of Traffic Safety, and we do bike rodeos at the schools where we basically bring the kids out. We run them through an obstacle course. We talk about bike safety. We talk about helmets. We talk about lights. We also do directed enforcement, mostly downtown, because believe it or not, the biggest violators we have are UC Davis students. And they probably haven't ridden a bike since they were 13, and they get on campus and they start riding a bike and they've forgotten. So what we'll do is we'll stop people who don't have a helmet, And obviously, if you're over 18, you don't need to have a helmet. But we'll also stop people without lights. And through the grant, we are able to purchase lights and helmets, and we hand them out like it's candy. If you walk into our lobby, there's a vending machine. You can punch out lights to add to your bike. We have a very bike-heavy community. A lot of people ride a bicycle here, which is a good thing. We just want to make sure they're doing it safely. Our approach is always education first, but we will issue citations. Last year, we issued over 3,000 citations in the city of Davis. That's a 100% increase from 2023. And the number one complaint I get in the city, bar none, is traffic related. And so we really try and focus in that space. We're actually moving a body out of investigations to the motor detail to now have 3 dedicated motor officers, because we have recognized that the biggest complaint is safety in the city when it comes to bicycles and vehicles. And so we're really trying to lean into that as much as we can in this next year. Yes, sir.
I saw on campus there was a kiosk that's for people who riding the bikes who got cited. I don't know what the punishment is, but it seems like a great idea. Every time you cite somebody, tell them they owe a lot of money unless they get trained. A lot of people are just riding the bikes, they don't know it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's times where I, stop at an intersection downtown and I'll watch these bikes just blow right through the intersection. And, you could be there all day pulling people over. It's not an easy problem to solve. It is a combination of education, but it's also a component of enforcement, right? And people, we don't want to give somebody a ticket, but we also want them to be safe. And so combining those two is usually the best route. Ruby?
I just wanted to say the woman who was killed about a month ago now by the e-bike over by the high school was a nurse at Sutter Davis Hospital. In fact, she was my wife's and my mother-in-law's nurse. And I didn't figure that out until I saw the name and saw the picture. So for me, it really hit home very closely. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Not about bikes, sorry. Can you talk a little bit about that staff?
Sure. Yep, sure. And I think I bring this up usually every year. Does anybody know how many police officers are working in the city of Davis at midnight?
20?
That's got it. 4. 4 is our staffing minimum. It's pretty lean. It's been the same since, I think, 1989. We have 61 sworn peace officers in the city of Davis. Woodland has 72, and the city of West Sac has 85. So we run very lean, and we are the most populous city in the county. Obviously, jurisdictions can have different dynamics, but we are small but mighty. But the real upside to that, if there's an upside to that, is we still have the lowest crime rate. And what we do is we really focus on recruitment and making sure our positions are filled. When I took over as chief, we had 12 vacancies. That's a lot. And we really leaned into that. And I am proud to say that we have technically no vacancies today, because we have 3 people we're hiring. They're in the process, but that will be it. We will be 100% staff when it comes to sworn personnel. Same issue with dispatch. Dispatch was at 50% staffing. We have all positions filled but 1, and even today we're doing interviews to fill that 1 position. So really, I will work with what we have. Personnel are expensive, there's no question about it, and we have to think smarter. And what we really done is we recognized, we're not in a position to go and ask City Council for an additional 10 bodies. The city's just not in a position to be able to fund that. So what we're really trying to lean into is technology. How do we make these officers more efficient? And we've been able to make some really good progress in that space, because when you look at it, every officer has a 10-hour shift. And, there's so much that we can load onto that plate in a 10-hour time period. and what we call it's like a workload analysis. It's a 60-40 split is what you shoot for, a 70-30 split. So 70% of that 10 hours is dedicated to calls for service, that people are calling the police department saying we need you to solve this problem, and then that other 30% is administrative and proactive. And really, that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that we are lowering that administrative so they have that time and space to be proactive. Because when I hire a police officer, I always ask them the question, right? Like, what does community policing look like to you? And you hear all types of answers. The answers that are going to get you through the door are, well, I want to be out of my car. I want to be talking to people. I want to be going into businesses. I want to be available. And to be able to do that, they have to have time to be able to do that. And so that's the space we're working on, is how do we make them as efficient as possible, not bog them down with, the amount of reporting that they have to do to the state now is astronomical, and it has only grown over the last, I've been in this business 30 years. What they do now is not even close to what I did 30 years ago. And so we're trying to find ways to make that more efficient so that we get the most out of those officers.
So like at 5 in the morning, usually it's 4. But like there's people that like to go walk or run, and it's like, it's not comfortable going out there at 5 in the morning because whatever's walking around. So at 5 in the morning,
so it's still only 4. Yeah, pretty much at any given time it's only 4. Now during daytime we have the traffic unit out, and they kind of work that mid-swing shift. Obviously we have detectives there in the city, so there's more cops available, but at any given time each shift has 4 officers assigned to it and 1 watch commander, and that's our baseline standard. So
how many people are on campus, living on campus, that are not in the city? Because if we have 60,000 people here, but if we have, how many kids are living over there that come they're part of the town?
Sure, yeah. You can't divorce the university from the city.
How many people is there?
So just over 50% live in the city, students, and then the rest, West Village, dorms, you name it.
So they have like 20,000?
Yeah, I don't know, you have to ask them, but that would be my guess. Do some simple math.
And there. So we have 60,000 people because they come down here to eat or buy stuff and do things.
Yeah, our residents of the city is about 65,000 during the last census, just north of 65,000. We actually had a 1% decrease in population. But yeah, absolutely. The university, if you sit on B and 3rd, you're going to see all the kids coming into the city. So it does balloon our numbers, but when we're talking about true residents, that's 65,000. Yes?
I'd like to know what your plans are for handling security at the gay pride thing, the pride event. Because
30 days.
Yes. So anyway, because 2 years ago, a friend of mine and I were accosted by men in black who were hired by the city, and we were denied our free speech and told we had to leave. And when we were being pushed literally out, I was accosted by a woman, and the men in black just did nothing, and the police did nothing. So, what are your plans for handling this event?
Yeah, so Phoenix Coalition sponsors the event. The city, I think, is a co-sponsor to the event. As far as I know, the city doesn't buy Men in Black or security. That's through Phoenix Coalition, so you'd have to ask them about that. We have hundreds of events throughout the city all the time. If it's a Coast City sponsored event, yes, there can be an allocation of a police officer, but they're expensive. If it's a completely run private event, then that event has to contract with us for extra duty for police officers. But I always tell people the same thing. If you've been assaulted, you have to report it. If we don't have a report, there's not much we can do to investigate it. But we take every complaint that comes into us seriously, and we will investigate it. I'd love to say that we had a 100% solve rate on all cases. It's just not the case. But we will investigate it. And so if there's a security issue, we would say report it as soon as possible.
I have an idea for getting the bicyclists to follow the law. Maybe you could have an agreement with the schools in Davis, K through 12, and also UC Davis. There would be a system, like if maybe incentives and disincentives, but if a student got 3 bike tickets or something for running stop signs or something, then there would be an automatic suspension at the school, or I don't know. It just seems like the schools, I don't know, this seems like they could help to get their students educated or help to get them to understand that there are consequences, because then you could, if the consequences would be they would be in school for a week, or they would be suspended from UC Davis, or I don't know what. I'm sick of the bicyclists breaking the law all the time, and you can't keep, handling because they're all going to not even stopping. It would be nice if somehow you could get the schools, either K through 12 or UC Davis, to be part of incentives and disincentives.
Yeah, we are a good partner with DJUSD, and we host many events on campus that they co-sponsor with us to do just that, education and training. It's a complex issue. There's no question about it. I don't know if suspending kids for not following a traffic rule is the route, but that would be fully within the jurisdiction of DJUSD. I don't think the university is going to do that, but they all do the same thing we do. They do a lot of education. They also do enforcement. We work very closely with them with kind of our strategy for e-bike enforcement, as do they, which very similar issues. Everybody's trying to figure it out. We have to remember too that a small percentage of people are riding unsafely, and we try and educate, and then we try and enforce.
If you drive by Holmes Junior High School any time at 3:30 in the afternoon, you're coming by and the kids are riding 5 abreast, covering the whole street. I mean, if you're behind them, you have to stay behind them, because they're not gonna. You can honk the horn, and they just, because they're visiting, honking this way with 5 abreast, and they just go until they get to the end of the street where they want to go. I mean, and I see that with adults, when there's 2 people driving. I mean, these lanes, some of these lanes where you can drive a bike are just a little bit, 2 yards or 1 yard. I mean, you can't go like this, because when you go like this, then the car's got to go around you, and then we're in the lane. It just doesn't make sense, because they want to visit to each other, and they need to go single file, and then when they get to the destination, then they can down. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, they can absorb a lane. Nothing prohibits a bicycle from being in a lane. I think, yes, we try and address those things. We have a lot of kids on bikes. I think at the end of the day, those are the problems I'm happy to hear about, because the reason traffic is such a big deal is, who in here has witnessed an armed robbery in the last week? It's happened, but nobody's witnessed it. What we see is what bothers us. And so when we see these bicycle riders being unsafe, or whatever the case is, that's very visible. And so that's why it's on front and center. This is a problem, no question about it. We'll continue to work on it. It's never going to be solved, but we'll try and make it better. Hopefully I never show up here and people are like, what are you doing about shootings? What are you doing about robberies? Because coming from Sacramento, when I go to a community meeting, those are the questions I got. And those are hard to solve. And so that we are here having conversation about bikes, believe it or not, is actually a good thing. That means that's at the top of our priority list. And so we can fix that, but it will take time. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well done, Chief.